We had a historic night in the Bundesliga. Forest announced themselves as legit Champions League contenders.
Atletico Madrid have a night to forget, and Atalanta bounce back in a big way. All that and more on episode 51 of the No Business Soccer Podcast. Snooze, kick us off.
Let's dig in. Yes. Thank you again for tuning into the No Business Soccer Podcast. I'm your host, Snooze, and we're here with the full fam, J-Fam, the Brainiac. He's actually on the ones and twos today. Danny P is here. He's around, but he's not here right now. It's all good. He's out there doing the Lord's work for us. But, of course, everybody's here for the main man, Hype Man Vic. What you sipping on, dog?
No. The question is, what are we not sipping on? We sip on everything here. No, this is a pink rabbit. It looks like a Negroni because there's Campari in it. But it's mezcal and Amaro Montenegro and also Campari. And it's so good. It's like taking, the smokiness of a mezcal. It's like all that, but taking the harshness off of it. You still get the smokiness. And then you get this like chocolatey, almost undertones of the Montenegro. And then you have the Campari just rounding out that bitterness. It's so freaking good. It might be
I hear
a staple
like,
coming on here.
Campari makes me do this. Like, that's the face that I make when I see it. You know?
Yeah, if you drink only Campari, there's like, actually, they make a Campari whip where they just aerate the shit out of it, and apparently it's like really good. I haven't made one of those, but
okay, well, that sounds awesome. I actually would try that drink. So this is one in like, most of your cocktails I'll actually try. It's just the straight stuff that's a little too hard for me. So okay,
yes,
well,
we all know that.
We were talking about it before the show kicked off, but we have a full show today. We have all four leagues that we cover: Serie A, Bundesliga, La Liga, and the Prem. We have a Wrexham recap, an Austin FC minute, and the UEFA competitions are back for the second legs this week. Oh, we can't wait. So let's not waste any more time. Let's jump right in. First off, we're boots on the ground in Austin for the Austin FC minute.
Yes. A disappointing weekend for Austin FC where we lost 1-0 to the Colorado Rapids. We did not have any shortages of chances. We had 26 shots, I think 11 on goal. It was a pretty dominant night. I might be lying on the 11 on goal. I'm pretty sure it's around there, though. It was a pretty dominant night. We just could not finish for some reason or another. Mirto Zuni looked pretty good out there. Him and Brandon Vasquez were kind of fighting for spots, which was pretty crazy, and what our coach said would not happen. Like we would just, everyone would work good together and everything. But looking to rebound, we do play. Actually, I'm thinking about the next home game, which is San Diego. I actually don't know who we play next. We should
LAFC.
Oh, in LA this Saturday. It's a afternoon game. It's going to be at 2:45. And hopefully we rebound. LAFC isn't looking like the powerhouse that they have been. And hopefully we can take advantage. But with the way we looked last Saturday, it wasn't, I don't know. I don't know. We had a lot of chances. Just we couldn't finish. It's going to be hard.
If you recall, audience, I didn't get to go to the match. Well, I mean, I didn't go to the match because I was at a hardcore music festival, not so fun weekend. Had a great time. So unfortunately missed this match, but it sounds like I would have been frustrated if I went. So, it's all good. The worst part, go ahead.
I was just going to say, there have been 2 cold and windy nights the past month, and both of them have been Austin FC games. It sucks.
Yeah,
it's cold.
We when Danny P and I showed up to the Far Out Lounge, we were in shorts and shirts, and he had like a light jacket on, and we were like, "Oh, dude, this is amazing." It was a little breezy, sun was out. Quickly turned to a horrible time as it got down into the 40s. The wind was blowing, and it sucked. I don't even know who the band was, but I bought a hoodie from them. Just like whoever has a hoodie is getting my money. It was a freaking freezing night. And one thing before we move on, Vic, it just came to my mind because, Hype Man's always sipping on whiskey. Couldn't finish the game. Can we start calling games where we have like 20 shots, but, not that many on target and no goals, a whiskey dick game? Can that be like a thing?
We could probably do that. Yeah, we'll probably have a few more of those.
Let us know, right? Oh, it was a
Yeah.
whiskey dick game for
Whiskey
us
dick
here in
game.
Austin.
I like it. Yeah.
Can't finish, just so.
Can't-
All right. Anyway, I
Like-
don't know why that hit me. Okay. Well, that is it for the Austin FC Minute. Let's go on to the Wrexham recap. Wrexham took on Rotherham this weekend. Man, there's a lot of hams. I need to look into that. Wrexham, Rotherham. Like, why is that used so much in the British language? I mean, the British language is English, but you know what I mean. Like the British English. Anyway, Wrexham make it 2 wins in a row after beating Rotherham at the racecourse 1-0. The first half was a little stale for both sides, but they take the lead as the new boys linked up. But before they linked up, actually, I want to talk about a shot that came from Matty James. It was an absolute missile just before halftime, but it was blocked by an excellent save. So we got to give him his shout out, even though he didn't score. But either way, didn't take long after the break, though, for the new boys. Jay Rodriguez, he heads it down for Sam Smith, who takes advantage of a defensive error, pokes the ball home. They get a 1-0 lead, and the boys see it out and make it a 1-0 win, get all 3 points. Now, the icing on the cake for all of this that happened, the win and everything, is the fact that Wycombe, who are right above Wrexham in the table in League One, they drew with Peterborough, which means that Wrexham are now level on points with Wycombe in League One, and they're only below them based on goal differential, which is 6 goals. So it's a decent amount, but not insurmountable. But the cool thing is, Vic, and I know I've been teasing it for a while, but Wycombe and Wrexham have a match coming up, and that happens this freaking Saturday. It goes down 2 versus 3. Man, it is time. I keep thinking in my head, like, it's time. It is go time. Wrexham, they go on the road, though, so it's going to be a tough one. But, man, nothing in their form tells me that they can't take care of business on the road. But before that, Vic, they even have a game, as of this recording, tomorrow, March 11th, against a side that are sitting in 8th in Reading. So that's no joke, because there's like, what did we say last time? Like 24 teams in League One. So
there are a lot.
Sitting 8th is pretty good. So yes, of course, that's an important match. It's the one that's the most not recent. It's the soonest, I guess. What's the word for that? It's the closest match happening. But yes, but either way, all eyes will be on Wycombe this weekend as we try to get that direct promotion. And man, it is coming down to the wire, Vic. Up the town. Let's do it. Let's go, boys. All right. Let's move on. I think we're going to do UEFA competitions after, right? Because we're talking about a preview. So let's start with some European reach around, or the wrap up, the more PC version. And I think, Vic, we're going to start in Italy, if you don't mind.
Let's do it then. To Serie A.
Man, we had some fun matches in the Serie A this weekend, actually all around Europe. But it all got kicked off on Friday when Cagliari held on to draw with Genoa at home 1-1. And I've said it on here before, but Cagliari Stadium turnout is always good. The norm in Serie A is a half-empty stadium, and I don't say that to be rude. It's just kind of how it is. If not half empty, then, like 3/4 full, I guess you could say. But Cagliari, who are sitting in 15th in the table, they have constantly packed out that stadium. It's just good shit. I love it, and I want them to stay up because of it. But they end up getting that 1-1 draw with Genoa. On Saturday, Como looked like they were crossing that threshold to get 3 points against Venezia, but Venezia get a stoppage time penalty to level the score, and they split the points in a 1-1 draw. Oh, man, Como had a tough run, and this was supposed to be the easy one. We got one hell of a match between Torino and Parma as it ended 2-2, and Torino had only let in 2 goals in a match twice in their last 10 matches, thanks to Milinkovic-Savic. Of course, we talk about him all the time. But Pellegrino's brace for Parma splits the points, and he's one to watch, man. He's looking pretty good out there. Lecce came so close to getting 3 points against Milan, but an own goal levels it, and Pulisic saves the day with 2 late goals to take all 3 points back to Milan. And yes, Captain America does it again, folks. Kristovic for Lecce, though, he has 2 great goals, and man, I felt bad for him because he put his heart out there. He left his heart out there? You know what I mean. Yeah. Monza, like Lecce, were feeling themselves against Inter and took a shock 2-1 lead into halftime at San Siro. Both Monza goals were filthy, but Çalhanoğlu hit the shit out of the ball, and it beeline to the back of the net, and they leveled it up. And you just knew at that point Inter were going to get it done, and they do, as the game ends 3-2 to Inter, showing their championship pedigree. On Sunday, Bologna get the better of Verona on the road in a 2-1 win. And what that result means for Bologna is that they've won 4 of the last 5 in the Serie A now, and they make it 3 straight. Verona, they've actually lost 4 of their last 5, so the complete opposite. Napoli thoroughly dominated our Fiorentina at home to the tune of a 2-1 win. Napoli had 19 shots with 11 on target to Fiorentina's 7 shots with 2 on target. That is an insane, inverse? Disparity. There you go. Yeah. It could have been a much, much worse night for our Viola, though, Vic, because De Gea, he was playing his freaking nuts off, I guess you could say. And, if it wasn't for him, that would have been real bad. Roma absolutely took it to Empoli on the road, but only get a 1-0 win out of it. The goal came in the first 30 seconds of the match, but Empoli might have to replace the posts after this one because Roma hit them all night. And finally, we got another domination that wasn't just a domination in the stats, but it was actually on the scoreboard as well. And that leaves Juve and Atalanta 4-0. And we'll talk about that one here in just a moment. But the last match of the match day 28 was Lazio and Udinese, and they split the points in a 1-1 draw, as this result extends Lazio's unbeaten run in the Serie A to 6 matches, and Udinese extends their own to 5 matches. So way to go, Udinese. We talked about them on the preview. They're looking pretty good, Vic. Where does that leave us in the table after match day 28 in Serie A?
Yeah. Well, the top 3 are still all keeping pace. You got Inter Milan in the number 1 spot. They have 61 points. 1 point behind them is Napoli with 60 points in the second spot. And then Atalanta with that absolute routing of Juventus in the third spot with 58 points. Speaking of Juventus, they round out our top 4 with 52 points. And then tickling our top 4 is Lazio with 1 point behind them to 51 points in the number 5 spot. So yeah, good thing for all those top 3 teams getting a win, trying to keep pace, and it looks like they're trying to separate from the 4th and 5th spots. So we'll see how the rest of the season goes. But at the bottom of the table, who might not have a next season here, is Empoli in the 18th spot. They have 22 points, fresh off a loss. Venezia keep their shield because they are not in the bottom spot, but they do keep their relegation status in the 19th spot with also 19 points. And in the bottom, Monza holding up the rest of the table with 14 measly points, 3 straight losses for them, not looking good, and they're hoping to turn it around, but it might be just a little too late. They're about 10 points away from being out of the relegation zone. But Snooze, like you said, the top 3 are all trying to keep pace and take this Serie A championship with them, and Atalanta got a really good win. Tell us a little bit more about their match this weekend.
That's crazy, man. The Scudetto race is really, really close. It's going to be a fun end of the season, but like you were mentioning, this Juve Atalanta game really showed us kind of who was the real, who was the fake, right? Contender and pretender. And I don't know if someone kicked their cat or what, but Juve just didn't look like themselves on Sunday, and it just seemed like they were sad. They were out of it. I don't know. It was a little bit rainy out there, maybe. I don't know. But let's start by reading the stats, Vic, shall we? Juve had 9 shots with 2 on target. Atalanta had 19 shots with 9 on target. So Juve, but the biggest disparity, I learned that word today from you.
Very nice.
Is that Juve had 64% of the possession to Atalanta's 36, and almost double the amount of passes, and they still lost 4-0. From the start of the match, though, Atalanta was on Juve. They just looked like the hungrier side. They looked definitely like the more clinical side. And honestly, if it wasn't for Juve keeper Di Gregorio, the first half he had a couple of great stops. It could have been 5 or 6-0. And man, it just wasn't their night. But I think the part of the match that could sum it all up was Atalanta's 4th goal. And if you haven't seen it, Vlahovic, who's a sub, comes on, and he comes on to save the day. Potentially, right? They're trying to catch up here and not embarrass themselves in front of their home crowd. Except he plants to pass, and his plant foot slips and hits the ball straight onto a running Lookman, who gets the perfect assist and obviously buries it because that's what he's been doing all this season. And man, it was just it looked stupid. It was dumb. I mean, it's not like he did it on purpose, but like your plant foot hits the ball. He's like his other leg's swinging this way and the ball goes that way. It was laughable. It was really bad. And it kind of summed up their whole night, honestly. And on the look ahead show, when I previewed this match, I said that if Atalanta won this match, they could simultaneously do two things. They could stamp their Scudetto challenger status, essentially, and they can cut the legs out of a potential dark horse. Remember, a couple weeks ago, we were talking about, last week, we were talking about Juve being a dark horse because they had been climbing up the ranking, climbing up the table so fast. And that's exactly what happened. Well done at Atalanta. They're for real. It's 3 points to the top for them. And honestly, I want to see them do it. It's their first time. It would be their first time winning the Scudetto, and it would be amazing to see. Especially, we get Leverkusen winning the Bundesliga last season. We get a new champion in Italy this season. Like, things are shaping up. Liverpool haven't won it in a few years either. I mean, come on, let's go. Let's change things around. La Liga will always be the same 2 or 3, right?
Yes.
So. All right. Anything from your friend before we move on from this? Does he have anything to say for himself?
He didn't tell me anything. We haven't talked about it, obviously. But I will say that's probably the last time that I'm completely all up on Juventus and because he's the one that was down. Juventus was playing how Christian was talking about the team last week. Like, he was just talking about, I don't know, something's gonna go wrong. They played like that. He manifested it. Is exactly what happened.
Exactly. Okay. Well, that is all for Serie A and match day 28. Let's move on to Spain.
Let's do it. To La Liga.
Ooh, the smooth sounds. Sipping some red wine and some jamon. Sounds like a good time.
Sipping jamon?
No, sipping red wine and eating jamon. Did I say it wrong?
I thought you said sipping jamon.
Whatever they do there, right? Okay, let's jump into it. This was a weird one for La Liga because, if you recall, Vic and I gave them a shout out for the way they do their scheduling, and then they went and just screwed it all up, and they didn't have a Friday match. They had matches at the same time. This wasn't the best La Liga weekend. But let's start it off with Saturday, and Celta come back from a goal down against Leganés to take all 3 points in a 2-1 win, with Mallorca and Rayo slipping up with their recent results. Celta are tickling those European places, and Vic will tell us here just in a moment. Relegation threatened Alaves get a 1-0 win over top 5 side Villarreal. And what a result for Alaves. I'm not used to seeing Villarreal waste so many chances, especially this season. But the worst part about it was seeing Alaves keeper come out, and he gets knocked out cold. But in the process, he does handball outside of the box, and he wakes up to the ref giving him a red card right in his freaking face. And, man, it was such a dick move. But, he needed a red card.
Hey, go on, wake up, buddy, and get out of here. Go on, get out of
here. And Valencia did it. They picked themselves up out of the relegation zone, and we'll talk more about their 2-1 win over Valladolid in just a second. Barca and Osasuna were postponed after the death of their 40-year-old team doctor, Carlos Minara Garcia. And it was at the team hotel, too. Apparently, he had a heart attack, and it was horrible. It was like 30 minutes before kickoff. Horrible scenes there. So that was a postponement. On Sunday, in one of the most Carlos Minara Garcia, like, what a tragic thing to happen. And that sucks for his family. And thoughts and prayers go out to them. I don't want to be rude. I just pass that up. That's horrible. 40 years old, too, man. That sucks. Okay. On Sunday, in one of the most insane finishes to a match that I've seen in a while, Atletico Madrid lose 2-1 to Getafe. And let me tell you how crazy this was, Vic. Alexander Sorloth for Atleti scores a penalty in the 75th minute to give Atleti the 1-0 lead in the 75th minute against Getafe. Now, they get a red card and let in 2 goals between the 88th minute and the end of the match. The 88th minute. Okay, well, to be fair, though, it was 10 minutes of stoppage time. So it was a ridiculous amount of stoppage time. But still, what a result for Getafe. What a match. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Real Madrid get goals from Mbappe and Vinicius Jr. to get all 3 points from Vallecano in a 2-1 win. Both goals came from the left side, and they cut back, and they were saying that they were, Mbappe did it, so Vinicius had to do it better, and they were trying to like one up each other. All I know is that they are a sight to behold when they are humming, and they have a great matchup to extend their Champions League run this, what is it, Wednesday, something like that. I can't remember. But either way, they're a fun team to watch. Bilbao and Mallorca split the points in a 1-1 draw where both teams seemed fairly even throughout. But Bilbao had bigger and better things on their mind, like the second leg of their knockout tie with Roma just around the corner. And 1-1 draw, they're still in the title. Well, not in the title race, but they're still up for Champions League qualification, so they'll take that. Real Betis may get 4 wins in a row as they take down the plummeting Las Palmas 1-0. Las Palmas were down to 10 men, and they lost their captain late last year, as we were talking about. They've lost 4 of 5 in La Liga. It's just not looking good for them right now. But Betis have come alive, and I love it. For some reason, I've started chatting a lot more with people in the YouTube comments of the La Liga highlights, and like every other comment for Betis games is like, GOAT Anthony, everybody talking about like, oh man, look at this team. And I'm on board, man. I don't know if it's actually real, but probably not. But he is playing better, and they have done really good since he's come on. So what a great time. Real Sociedad and Sevilla end 1-0 to Sevilla on the road. And don't sleep on Sevilla making it into Europe next year. They seem to always do. And they started off the season horrible, but the results are starting to pile up. So don't sleep on Sevilla. And on Monday, earlier, Espanyol were so close to getting 3 points against Girona thanks to a fantastic goal from Carreras. But an 88th minute penalty is converted, and they split the points in a 1-1 draw. There's a lot of late, 85th minute on penalties this weekend. It was kind of crazy. Okay, Vic, that is La Liga and match day 27. Where does the table stand after match day 27? That's a weird way to put that.
After match day 27, the table looks very familiar on top. You do still have Barcelona, and they still have a game in hand due to the untimely death, of their team doctor. And they do have 57 points. Real Madrid have 57 points as well in the number 2 spot. In the 3rd spot is Atletico Madrid, just 1 point behind them despite the loss. They have 56 points. And then rounding out our top 4 is Atletico Bilbao with 49 points, unable to get the 3 points, but just come away with 1 point this past week. Rounding out our top 4, tickling our top 4, not rounding out, is Villarreal with 44 points. There's a 5-point gap between them and the Champions League spots, but they are looking to close that down. That latest loss will not help, though. If we take a look at the bottom of the table, the first team to be relegated if the season ended today would be Deportivo Alaves with 26 points despite their win, still in the relegation zone. Las Palmas are in the 19th spot. They have 24 points. And then holy guacamole, my volley dolly. Real Valladolid still have 16 points and a loss to Valencia, who Valencia now have climbed out of the relegation zone. And not looking good for them still, and still a lot of red on their radar, despite the draw that they had just 2 weeks ago. But come on, guys, let's get it together. And I don't know, we'll see what happens. But man, my faith is kind of dwindling there, Snooze. But
Understandable.
But and again, like they did just lose to Valencia, and now Valencia are no longer in relegation zone. But tell us a little bit more about their match.
Yes, well, we have spoken it into existence. Well, I would say more me, not Vic, but as Valencia are officially above the relegation line. Now they are far from safe as far as the end of the season, but this is a good place to start as we are rapidly approaching the end of the season. And it ends 2-1 in this match thanks to great goals from Diego Lopez and Umar Sadiq. But Sadiq could have had a first half hat trick if he was just a little bit more lucky. And the reason that I had this match to watch for this weekend, like the best match of the weekend, was because of how not optional 3 points were for Valencia. They absolutely had to win this one. And they almost gave it away, Vic. They almost did, because oddly enough, one of the pillars of their squad, Mamardashvili. Wow, my brain just like, Mamardashvili, the future Liverpool keeper. Let's put it that way. Inexplicably, he passed the ball out directly to Juanmi Latasa, who plays for Valladolid. I guess he just didn't see it as like out of the corner of his eye. I don't know, but he gets the ball instantly, makes it level. And had Sadiq not scored late on, Mastaya would have been, they would have erupted. It would have been incredible because there were plenty of whistles after that mistake from Mamardashvili, and they did it. They now have 8 points from their last 5 matches as they continue to build momentum. And for Vic's Volidoli, unfortunately, the only thing separating them from relegation is the amount of matches they have left in the season. And yeah, I mean, that's kind of where their season leaves them. There's a lot that the fans and I don't want to say protesting, but maybe with Ronaldo being their owner now, or part owner, or whatever he is up there, people are not liking it, and yeah, they're letting it be known. So, okay, that is it for La Liga. I would say Español, but I guess España. So I guess now, Vic, let's move on. And man, we are making great time today. We are going to Germany.
I like it. Let's go to Bundesliga. What a crazy week too, man. I can't wait to hear about this one.
Yes, this one was absolutely insane. And we had, not only was it a historic weekend for the Bundesliga, it's a historic weekend for the No Business Soccer podcast, because for the first time, a match that I call out as the match I'm going to be detailing and talking about, we preview it and then we talk about what happened in the match, ends 0-0. And so we can't talk about those here. So what am I going to do? I'll show you what I'm going to do here in just a moment. So Friday gets it kicked off in the Bundesliga as Mainz get it done 3-1 on the road against Gladbach. And now that's 4 wins in a row for Mainz, as they are starting to prove their Champions League placement is no longer a fluke, and they look smooth in the attack. Even Gladbach's goal was a keeper error, as the keeper spilled it, and he should have caught it. So Mainz absolutely flying right now. And as Vic will show you here in a moment, they definitely took advantage of some slipping up at the top, and they're looking like they're going to be in the Champions League. Hopefully, a lot of time to play. But for right now, they're looking good. On Saturday, Wolfsburg and St. Pauli end 1-1, and I can't decide who it's more points dropped for. On the one hand, since everyone in the top 6 outside of Mainz failed to win, Wolfsburg missed a hell of an opportunity to gain some ground. But with Bochum glowing up, what we're about to talk about here in a moment, St. Pauli are now staring at the face of a relegation playoff. So, yeah, not a good time to go 1-1 for both these teams. And we had a historic night in Munich as Bochum go to the Allianz Arena and get a 3-2 win that will go down in Bochum folklore history for generations. And yes, it was a heavily rotated Bayern side, but their bench is packed with high-profile starters still, and they're the B squad, if you will, for Bayern is still good enough to play A squads for most of the Bundesliga. But yeah, so don't take anything from Bochum. But man, screw that. They deserved the win, and it was crazy to see. Now Kiel draw 2-2 against the 10 men of Stuttgart. And Stuttgart are slipping up a bit here, but Voltamata gets an assist and creates the equalizer. I mean, he's just made a massive, massive difference for the Stuttgart team. And I can't imagine where they'd be without the performances he's had lately. And I know I think you say, I don't know how to pronounce it, honestly, Skrbitsky. But either way, he knew where the goal was for that second goal. If you watched Kiel's goals, he got a brace. His second goal, he definitely knew where the goal was, but something tells me that he didn't even think that ball was going in the net. I mean, the way that he hit it was just like looping. I don't know. It's weird. Just watch the highlights. You'll see exactly what I'm talking about. Like, there's no way he meant to do that. Right. Dortmund fall at home 1-0 to Augsburg in a game that you would think that they had to win. Dortmund were frustrated all day by Augsburg, and they had chances, but they just couldn't convert. It's reaching the boiling point for Dortmund faithful, as at the end, it looked like the Dortmund fans were about to hop over that fence and start fighting some of the Dortmund players. It was bad. They were whistling. They were flipping them off. I mean, man, I don't know. I do know what's happening in Dortmund, but it's not good. And, yeah, hopefully they can turn things around soon. Leverkusen lose 2-0 at home to Werder Bremen. And Leverkusen did have a pretty rotated squad as well, like Bayern. Obviously, they have their eyes on each other in the Champions League coming up in just a day, tomorrow. Man, I just got hyped. We haven't talked about them yet. But anyway, all the starters got in the match by the end. But the biggest concern for them is Lil Uzi Verts. He goes off injured with a foot injury, and he was at the hospital before the match even ended, as manager Xabi Alonso said in the post-game presser. It's not looking good. They said there might be some ligament damage in that foot, and he might be out for the rest of the season. Granted, the end of the season is like a month and a half away now, but still, he might be out. Freiburg and Leipzig go 0-0, and this was supposed to be a match that we watch in the Bundesliga. That's the match I was talking about. So we'll talk about something else in just a moment. On Sunday, Eintracht Frankfurt continue to prove why they shouldn't be in the Champions League as they lose 2-1 to Union Berlin at home. And I said they couldn't slip up here in the preview, and they absolutely could. They definitely did. Hoffenheim and Heidenheim split the points in a 1-1 draw, which is good for both teams, really, as nobody at the bottom half of the table lost this weekend in the Bundesliga. So, hey, there you go. Vic, show us the table because it's absolutely insane when you see this thing.
Yeah, well, the top still is pretty familiar. I mean, you got Bayern Munich on top. They have 61 points. Leverkusen are right behind them with 50. Well, not right behind them. There's an 8-point difference. They have 53 points in the number 2 spot, both taking L's this weekend. But since, the points are so sparse up there and so spread out, no real movement. The only team to really take advantage of this, and Snooze, let me tell you, the top half of the table, one win. Bottom half of the table, 1 loss. So completely backwards day, and the team to take advantage of it the most is Mainz. Mainz with the win, climb into the 3rd spot, as you said earlier. In those Champions League spot, they are able to jump Eintracht Frankfurt, and I think also Actually, I think they were behind Freiburg last week, but or in front of Freiburg last week. But now in the 3rd spot, and then rounding out our top 4 is Eintracht Frankfurt with 42 points. Frankfurt also on a 3-game losing streak. We gotta figure that one out.
Mm-hmm.
Freiburg are tickling our top 4. They're in the 5th spot in the Europa League spot with 41 points, still unbeaten still undefeated in the past 6 games, but 2 straight draws. They're trying to get some more points out of these games. And if we take a look at the bottom of the table, Holstein Kiel still there, despite the bottom half of the table, being very fruitious, being very good this week. I don't know.
Fruitful.
I don't know. Despite of the bottom of the table being very good this week. Let's just keep it easy. Holstein Kiel in the 17th spot, Heidenheim in the 18th spot, holding up the rest of the table. They both get draws, unable to take advantage of, getting some more than 1 point. And unfortunately, still in the relegation zone. But since this was such an awkward and weird week, Snooze, I don't even know what you want to talk about. So I'm just going to hand it over to you. Go ahead.
Yeah,
what do we got for us?
Let's keep it on the table for a second. What I wanted to point out, you did a great job already, but like you take a look from 10 up and see the red and the gray. Take a look at 11 down, and it's just green and gray, and that is crazy. And like I was saying, nope, I haven't said it yet on this show. That was the shorts that we did. So how about let's just jump into it then, because I thought I said something that I didn't say, and that would be weird to say on a podcast. I'm botching this one anyway. Since Freiburg and Leipzig ended 0-0, and we don't talk about those here at the No Business Soccer Podcast. I'm saying it's unprecedented. It's never happened before. A match that I called out to be the one to watch was 0-0, which is actually pretty crazy that it hadn't happened until now. What is this, like 28 weeks in, 25 in the Bundesliga? But either way, since it ended 0-0, we're going to talk about the historic weekend overall. How about we do that, Vic? Bayern get beat by a team in the relegation scrap at home the same weekend that Dortmund and Leverkusen lose at home. I heard on the broadcast that this was the first time in 19 years that all 3 of those teams had lost in the same match day. That is crazy. I think it was 06, 07, something like that. And if the math's wrong, don't screw me. I mean, don't shoot me. I'll say screw me. Don't screw me. Don't shoot me, because I'm not good at math. You can ask Vic. He knows I'm horrible at it. Mm-hmm. What a crazy weekend in the Bundesliga, though. And while, yes, Bayern and Leverkusen did rotate the shit out of their sides because they have that Champions League second leg against each other coming right around the corner, it doesn't stop the fact that the other teams needed those points so badly and probably didn't expect to get them, honestly, right, when you see them on the schedule. Now, the title race is done and dusted. It's Liverpool are winning the Prem, Bayern are winning the Bundesliga. It's happening. But I feel like the Champions League focus is kind of like for Leverkusen, you're 3-0 down, and I mean, yeah, they're going to try to go for it, but come on, it's crazy. Either way, the worst part about it, like I was saying, Wirtz possibly being out for the rest of the season, it's just a bad weekend for Leverkusen, and I mean, really started since they lost 3-0 to Bayern in the Champions League last midweek. But Dortmund, I'm still confused about because, yes, they're still in the Champions League, but you can't act like this was a result that's not normal for them. They've been pretty bad all season, but somehow losing to Augsburg this year, it just doesn't surprise me. I mean, they lose to Augsburg often, so it's not a big surprise. But either way, the one that was a big surprise, though, was Eintracht losing at home to Union. And, obviously the same thing can be said for the same thing that we said for Bayern and Leverkusen can be said for Frankfurt as well. Eintracht has that second leg tie in the Europa League coming up, but still, man, it's insane just to see it. Like, you would think that even their B squads can kind of put up a fight against some relegation threatened teams. But no, man, this was a crazy, crazy weekend. And if I didn't say it yet, it's only the well, it might be the first time ever. I didn't get to confirm this, but last weekend, not a single home team won. And then it happened again this weekend. So back-to-back weeks, a home team did not get 3 points in the Bundesliga. And that's got to be something that's never happened before. An insane weekend, Vic.
Yep. Supporters are just donating at this point. The past 2 weeks, just donating to the team. Yeah, what a crazy weekend, man. I saw the Bochum. They always say it Bochum too. They like Bochum. But I saw Bochum in the Bayern highlights. Man, it looked like an exciting game, especially if you're a Bochum supporter. Man, that looked pretty fun, pretty exciting. And hats off to them, man. That was a good game. Good game. Good job.
Good game. There in one of the shots, I can't remember which goal it was, but behind the goal, there's like a sea of red, obviously Bayern supporters. And then there's one little Bochum fan, and they score at that goal, and he's like stands up like, yeah. And I'm just thinking, like, dude, imagine being that guy. You just like, he was there by himself. There was no one around him in Bochum. I mean, he might have been with Bayern fans, but you get my point. Like, he was by himself, and I couldn't imagine. Like, he thought that they would have gotten anything from this game, and to get a win, like, dude is on cloud 9. He's probably still drunk, honestly. Okay, well, that was the craziness that happened in Germany this weekend. And now let's wrap up with going – almost took your spot. Let's go to England.
Let's do it to the Prem.
And it all got
– Yes, sir.
With Forest grinding out a 1-0 win against the reigning champs Manchester City, and we'll break that one down here in just a moment. Liverpool do what they do and beat bottom of the table Southampton 3-1. Salah gets a brace of penalties. They extend their lead in the title race. Hell, even Darwin Núñez actually scored, so that's how bad Southampton are. Crystal Palace make it 3 wins in a row with a 1-0 win over Ipswich Town, who coincidentally have now lost 3 straight in the Prem. What a smooth finish from Sarr, though. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. João Pedro's stoppage time penalty was the difference between Brighton and Fulham as it ends 2-1 to Brighton. The penalty was given, and it was essentially the final kick of the game. Brighton make it 4 wins in a row in the Prem. Ollie Watkins fires home the only goal of the match between Brentford and Aston Villa as it ends 1-0 to Villa. Villa are in great position to advance in the Champions League, and now they are on the cusp of getting back into the top 6 in the Prem as well. What a great season for them. Wolves and Everton end 1-1, and coming in, I thought Everton would get it done because Cunha is out serving his 3-match ban for a red card he got in the FA Cup. But Wolves made it tough. They hung in there, and they got a point. Kudos for them. Sunday, Spurs come back from 2 goals down to draw with Bournemouth 2-2. Sonny's late penalty was the equalizer here, and Ange and company let out a big sigh of relief after this one because Spurs really shouldn't have gotten a point from this. Chelsea grind out a 1-0 win over Leicester City as Mark Cucurella's long range shot gives Chelsea all 3 points. It's now 5 losses in a row in the Prem for Leicester, and they have failed to score in all 5 of those defeats. So they haven't scored in at least 5 matches, and all of those were losses. What a terrible time for them. That's a donation of money as far as fans are concerned. Southampton, too. Declan Rice and Bruno Fernandes do the scoring as Arsenal and United in 1-1. Arsenal have pretty much accepted at this point that they haven't been in a title race since November probably, and United just need any points at the moment. So there you go. Monday, Newcastle and West Ham ends 1-0 to Newcastle. Overall, pretty uneventful night on a Monday night football, and it happens. Hell, even the goal that was scored, it was kind of slow, and it just seems slow motion. But Newcastle won't care. They get 3 points, and they try to get back into Europe as they're right on the cusp of it. We were just talking about. Sorry, something in my eye. What I will say, though, is that looking at the highlights and rewatching like the long-form highlights, usually on CBS, those are like a freaking 10 to 15 minutes long, and you're like, golly, do we really need all this? The long form was like 5 minutes for this match. So not a lot of eventful things happening in this match, Vic. Okay, well, where does that leave us in the Prem after match day 28?
Well, I'll tell you what, it leaves us in a beautiful position because Liverpool are still on top. They have 70 points, although they play 29 games. The rest of the league is playing 28. The rest of the league has a game in hand, but not going to do anything for anybody. They have 70 points in the number 1 spot. Arsenal are behind them, 15 whole points. They are in the number 2 spot with 55 points. That draw they just had, not going to help them out. Nottingham Forest in the 3rd spot with 51 points. Thank you for your work this weekend, Nottingham Forest. Really appreciate it. And now Chelsea was able to leapfrog Manchester City to get into the Champions League spot, rounding out our top 4 with 49 points. And as we said, as Nottingham Forest beat Manchester City, it knocks down Manchester City to tickle the top 4 and be in the number 5 spot with 47 points. And if we take a look at the bottom of the table, the first team to be relegated if the season ended today would be Ipswich Town. They have 17 points on a 3-game losing streak. Tied with them with 17 points is Leicester City in the 19th spot as well on a 5-game losing streak. And then, boy, oh boy, poor Southampton on a 4-game losing streak, holding up the rest of the table in the 20th spot with 9 points. Southampton got a win against Ipswich Town 5 weeks ago. Since then, have lost 4 straight with a combined 14-2 goal differential just between those.
Yeah.
Not looking good for them. Do have a little trivia for you, Snooze. There were 3 teams promoted last season to this season. Do you know who those 3 teams are?
Like the teams that were newly promoted this season?
Yeah, that got here this season.
Oh, yeah, they're the 3 at the bottom.
Yeah, they're going to be right back at it. Yeah. Quickly in and out, much like my life. But so they'll be pretty much gone because there's a huge gap, not only in the points, but also just in play recently. Ipswich Town, Leicester, and Southampton probably going to be relegated out of the season. But since I have the last episode, I was talking about being a hater. It feels really good because Manchester City got knocked out of those Champions League spots. And, Nottingham Forest gave them the business. Tell us a little bit more about that match.
Yeah, there was is definitely not the City that we were. I was hoping for. They're always fun to watch. And this game, man, I think by the end of it, City must be really thinking or hoping anyway. What if Doku just was better at finishing and decision making? Because he's amazing with the ball and he gets into great positions. He just can't finish. Hey, he's a whiskey dick player. There you go.
Whiskey dicker. Well, yeah,
whiskey dick. Yeah, there you go. Oh yeah, maybe that. But I mean, he's an Energizer bunny for sure. He's all over the place. He's freaking tricky, quick feet, pace for days, but just can't finish. What I will say, though, Forest were defensively sound, and they fought City off like they've done all season. They've just been battling back, making games tough for everyone. And at the end, it comes down to Hudson-Odoi, who, unlike Doku, he does finish his chance in the 83rd minute, and it rewards Forest with all 3 points as a result. And what a match for Forest. It's really cool to see. And I mentioned in the preview that if Forest can get 3 points here, I said 1 or 3 points, but they got 3 points. And that would be a massive boost for the Champions League hopes for this season. And they did it. And now the dream is more alive than ever. And they sit 3rd in the table with a 4-point gap between themselves and City in 4th. I think Chelsea, you said they're up there too. But anyway, City, Forest are up there. And they have a nice gap between them and City. And now that gap, obviously, is not insurmountable by the teams underneath them with City and Chelsea. But in the last 10 matches, it's going to be a hell of a story for Forest if they can hold on and get this done. And I think just now, everybody, I don't want to say everybody, maybe just ourselves, but mostly the collective of people are starting to think that this is a real possibility that they can get into the Champions League, especially after that result. And if they don't get the Champions League, they're going to be in Europe for sure. So it's just what a great season for Forest. It's awesome to see. Okay, that is it for the European region round or the wrap up, whichever way. And I think now, before we jump out of here, we're just going to cover the UEFA competitions really quick. So let's go to the UEFA competitions. Oh, damn, we got some good stuff going on. Let's start first in the Conference League. And in the Conference League, a couple matches that we're watching as far as the bigger names are concerned. The first one is going to be Chelsea and Copenhagen. Chelsea go into Stamford Bridge with a 2-1 aggregate lead over Copenhagen, and it's going to be a fun one that you would expect Chelsea to get past, but we'll find out. These matches are played for a reason. The other match that we want to talk about is our Fiorentina, who are getting every time Panathinaikos in Florence, and they go in there with a Panathinaikos has a 3-2 aggregate lead. They have a one more goal aggregate. Let's put it that way. I know if you're on podcast, you're like, what the hell is he talking about? And we also have Real Betis, who are going on the road to Victoria, and that sounded like Victoria, like my hometown, where my parents are from. Anyway, but yeah, Victoria. But they're tied on aggregate 2-2, so that one's all up. It's all up for grabs, and you would expect that Anthony, the GOAT, is going to get it done, and we'll see in those YouTube comments here in just a moment. I can't wait. I can't wait to be chatting people about Anthony, the GOAT. Okay, now let's move on to the Europa League, where we have a few more matches of note. The first one we'll talk about is Athletic Club or Bilbao playing Roma, and they get them at San Mamés in Spain, and it is an aggregate 1-2 to Roma right now. So, yeah, Bilbao going home with all of it to win and to take from Roma. It's going to be a fun one. We also get Lazio, who get Victoria Pilsen at the Stadio Olimpico, and they get a 2-1 aggregate lead going into that match. Eintracht Frankfurt, who we just talked about, slipped up against Union Berlin. Well, they get Ajax, and they have a home match against Ajax, and they have a 2-1 aggregate lead. Then my Spurs get AZ Alkmaar in Tottenham, and they go into that one with a goal down on aggregate. It's 0-1. Then Rangers have a 3-1 aggregate lead over Fenerbahce as Fenerbahce go to Glasgow to take on Rangers. And then the last match, I don't know who's going to win it. I honestly don't know if these teams are still any good, but either way, it's Manchester United, it's Real Sociedad, and they go down at Old Trafford, and that is a 1-1 aggregate. So everything's up in the air for that one. A lot of really good matches that I'm excited to watch on Thursday. But let's talk about the big boys, and let's move right along to the Champions League and wrap this whole thing up, Vic. We have just a reminder. We're going to go through all these games real quick, but just a reminder, this is a second leg. So this is the true knockout stage. Well, Arsenal's was last week because they beat PSV 7-1. So that one was the true knockout. But this one is the one that all the marbles are being played for. And we get Barcelona and Benfica at 12:45 on Tuesday, which is cool that it's the standalone game. It's like the one that we get to watch before everyone kicks out because Barcelona go into that match a goal up. And if you remember, they were 10 men down early last week whenever they I thought they weren't going to get a result, but they ended up getting that 1-0 lead, and they're going to Barcelona to play this match. And then we have Inter and Feyenoord. Inter have a 2-0 lead in that one. And then, of course, the one we talked about, Bayern go to Leverkusen with a 3-goal aggregate lead. Man, that one, I mean, it's not close. It's not starting close, so we'll see if it gets good, but that's going to be a crazy one. And the one that has really, I mean, it's the most intriguing out of all of these matches, in my opinion, and I'm sure for Vic as well. We have Liverpool versus PSG, and PSG, after thoroughly whooping that ass, go in to Anfield with a goal behind on aggregate. Liverpool get the win at PSG at Parc des Princes. Man, Vic, how are you feeling about this one?
Bro, we stole one. I was telling you guys. I was like, bro, we look slow out there. We just look terrible. And the fact that Harvey Elliott came in, his first touch was a goal, and we just like got out of there with a win, insane. And yeah,
Like
hopefully
that meme, that guy's like, like,
it was just,
like the guy's just like, I
yeah,
don't know.
yeah.
What? Yeah, you know what I'm talking
But
about.
yeah. So I was happy to get out of there with a win, and yeah, I think we're more than fortunate, and I hope we to buckle in and try to get a win this one because we did not look very good, and
The
PSG
good
does look
thing,
very good.
yeah, I was gonna say the good thing about this match though, for the, what am I called? Like the unbiased, the like third party, I guess you can call it, is that both teams are going to go for it. They can't play how they played at Anfield. That like they can't play the same way. There's zero chance that they do. But also PSG aren't going to change how they play. They're going to come at Liverpool, and as we've seen with City and Spurs, usually when teams go at Liverpool at Anfield, they end up getting blown out. So it's either going to be a really good match or Liverpool are going to absolutely dominate PSG. But either way, what a fascinating second leg. I'm super excited for that one. And then to cover this, oh, wow, we spent a lot of time on this already. On Wednesday, we have the final Champions League matches. Lille go head-to-head with Dortmund, and that one is at Lille, and that's 1-1 on aggregate. Aston Villa get Club Brugge in Aston Villa, or at Aston Villa, with 3-1 aggregate to Villa. And then, of course, Arsenal, PSV is 7-1 to Arsenal. That one's done. Doesn't matter if it was here, Mars, Moon, doesn't matter. It's 7-1. And then the Madrid derby goes back to Atleti, and to Atleti Stadium. It's still in Madrid. I guess that's a weird way to put it, but you know what I'm saying. But Real Madrid go into that match with a 2-1 aggregate lead, and it is all to play for on Wednesday. And that is your UEFA competitions. It is the boiling point for all these things. This is why we do this. This is the fun part. I'm so excited. I can't wait to see it all unfold. Vic, take us home.
Appreciate everybody for spending some time with us talking about some European football, or soccer here in the States, as we call it. Please be sure to like, subscribe, and share if you can. It's the best way to support us if you think that we are somebody who you should support, or maybe keep doing this. And let us know what you guys think in the comments about this past weekend in the football. We'd love to talk to you guys. Really been enjoying all the comments and everything, so please talk to us. We want to talk to you guys as well. Everyone, we will talk to you soon for the weekend look ahead coming up in just a couple of days, and y'all have a good one. Peace.
Peace.